Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Thinnest Veiled podcast. I am Dr. Melissa Bird, and I am thrilled to be joined once again by my beautiful friend, Dāli. Now I'm like,
Hello.
I say it right.
That's good, Dali.
Dāli.
It's all right.
Thank you. My Utah comes out often. I'm super happy to have you here. For those who may not have caught our previous conversations, would you just briefly introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, thank you. I am Dali. I am the founder and creator of the Diversity and Anti-Bullying Academy, and I provide resources to parents, teachers, and business owners about diversity and building up resilient kids, confident kids, so that they can be bully proof. So that's what I do.
Awesome. Yay. Well, I'm super excited to dive into this third conversation, 3 of 3, where we've been talking about immigration. And I'm really grateful that you have been here to share your story and the story of other people that you know, because I actually had the person who goes through my podcast and uploads them and does all the magical behind the scenes things. She actually lives in England, and she was telling me how much she's learning from our conversations. So we've got international reach now, which is super
Oh,
amazing.
that's
Because,
great.
well, and they're actually dealing with so many similar issues over in the UK. And so I think remembering that this is also a global movement, like this idea is really causing a whole global, like this is going on everywhere. And so I want to talk today a little bit about the myth of the financial burden of the immigrant. Um, as we are recording this on July 1st, 2025, the Senate just voted this really big, horrifying bill, which, by the way, is going to create a huge financial burden to low and middle income people. Um, we are facing, one of the things I said this morning was, I don't understand, if you want to have people buy your products and have enough money to just spend money on all sorts of things, why would you create financial burdens where nobody's going to be able to shop at your companies? Like, it's so bizarre what's happening right now. And so I really would love to talk a little bit more about the opportunities of immigration and sort of this financial myth. I don't know where you want to start, but go.
Yeah. Yeah, this is such a good topic because I think that the general population is not truly aware, first of all, of the percentage of immigrants that make up the United States. We're only about 14 to 15% of the population. And from that, like immigrants, roughly 17% of businesses are started each year by immigrants.
Mhm.
And it might sound like a small amount, but it's huge. They that translates to hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, the Latino population overall, not just immigrants, but Latinos, with whether you're born here or not, we have a GDP of, oh my gosh, it's can't remember what the exact number is, but it's billions. It's really powerful, and it really is a shame that people listen to the rhetoric
Yeah.
about the Latino population or the immigrant population taking more from the United States economy than putting in.
Mhm.
It is really sad because they're really shortchanging themselves. Yeah, they're gonna see a drastic drop in sales in their businesses because uh, Latinos are also very loyal to brands. Like if
Right.
you love Target, you will be a Target shopper forever. Like I remember when I started using deodorant, and I think I was like 12, my mom bought Secret, and I used Secret up until maybe like 5 years ago, and I'm 46 now.
Mhm.
And I did it because, I started studying about like the aluminum and deodorants and all this, and
Sure.
I changed a lot of my products, but it's like that's a long time. And then
Yeah.
also Colgate users, like, or like Charmin user, whatever brand you use, so And with everything that's going on right now, like all the boycotting of Amazon and Walmart and Target and all that, and you see what's happening to Target. Target's sales are plunging, and that's not just immigrants. That's a lot of people that are boycotting it. So this this rhetoric needs to be eliminated. We need to start speaking more about all of the contributions that immigrants bring into the United States with these businesses, and a lot of them are very small businesses. There
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, let me throw something out here real quick. I just a quick Google search.
Mhm,
So immigrants make up about 14% of the population, but they own 18% of businesses with employees and 23% of businesses without employees.
mhm,
So they like this is like a significant chunk of the small business economy.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know why? It's because uh, in Latin America, it is very common to see people having some sort of business. Everybody sells something from their home. It is so common. I remember when I went in 2016, in the morning, I could hear people saying, like, hey, coffee's ready, or the tortillas are ready, or the fresh bread is ready, or the frijoles, the beans, or like if somebody would pass through each street with like fresh fruit.
Mhm.
Um, you'd go down to the city and you'd see like the marketplace with just everybody selling something.
Yeah.
The macas, or the, what do you call them? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the word in English right now. You swing on them.
Hey, you
It'll
can
come back.
remember the Spanish word. It's fine.
Una maca. Like, whatever. It'll come back. Now this is gonna bug me.
It's okay. It's been a long day.
Yeah. The hammock. There we go.
Ah, oh
Maca.
yeah.
Yes. I mean everything. And so people bring that with them,
Mhm.
because they think, oh my gosh, if I was making it in my country, I can definitely make it here.
Yeah.
And I'm not strong. As a matter of fact, today I was speaking to my friend who's from Brazil, has a PhD, and that she came to the United States, worked with USDA. That's how we met. And she did part of her doctorate here, went back to Brazil, finished, got her PhD, came to the US. And first of all, the US is like, wait a minute, we don't know if this is a valid PhD. So we're going to make you go through all of this, and you're going to have to take
Yeah.
this class, and then you're going to have to test out. If you test out, then we'll go ahead and validate it, but we're not going to call it what you call it, like in the field that she is. Like, they slightly changed it. So it's like, wow, that's crazy, because just because you're from Latin America doesn't mean that your education is less than.
It's
um
actually more than.
it
Yeah,
is.
I'm just gonna say I got a
Yes.
PhD. It's sitting right here next to me on the wall. Like,
Yes.
and I do work with international, I'm the co-chair of an international conference, and I can
Mhm.
honestly say our rigor, not so much the same as other countries.
Right.
Yeah,
And a lot of people don't realize that. They think that this is like the top
no,
tier education.
no.
And I remember noticing it when I came to the United States, where I was so advanced with math and a lot of things. And then they dropped me one grade only because of my age and because I
Right.
didn't know English. And it was like a slap in the face. But, oh,
Yep.
and I had to look up the GDP for
Oh,
the
good.
Latinos. As of 2022, US Latino GDP stood at 3.6 trillion, making it roughly the fifth largest economy in the world if Latinos were their own country.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
um,
Like the things that we're talking about, it's so racist.
mhm,
The total mythology. I remember Jim had a math tutor when he was getting my husband Jim had a math tutor when he was getting his associate's degree, and he was a mechanical engineer from Egypt
yeah,
doing
there's
math
so many.
tutoring
Right.
because it didn't count, right? Like the
Yeah.
engineering, the very fancy master's degree would was not the same. And I would
Mhm.
actually say it was probably better. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
no, I mean, how do we dispel all these myths?
We have to start talking about it more. We have to start having conversations with people who are immigrants. And I think that when we hear the stereotypes, we need to correct people or ask them, like, where did you get that information? Do you actually know somebody who is whatever it is, whatever stereotype it is that they're saying? And yeah, some stereotypes do apply to people,
Sure.
but there's stereotypes that can apply to all people because in every race, group, or ethnicity, there's people who are alike, right? And it because at the end of the day, if you look at people from anywhere in the world, we all have so many commonalities.
Yeah.
It's just that we've somehow convinced ourselves that we're so different when we're really not.
Mhm.
I mean, just because the language is different doesn't, I mean, that's the most obvious thing most of the times, or like the skin
Yeah.
color,
Yeah.
but if you think about it, we have so many commonalities. So we need to make sure that we're intentional about what we want to uh, research about people or believe. We need to question, what we're hearing in the media.
Yeah.
um Read books of Latinos or like whatever ethnicity, like just get the story from the people that you want to learn about. And I know that most people are not going to bother because we're pretty self-absorbed. Humans are naturally like that. So just knowing that, I remember I heard that many years ago, and that did something to me. And I know it's not going to resonate with everybody, but to me it did. And I said to myself, I don't want to be that person, so I'm going to try to learn about different people because I don't want to stay ignorant. And as a matter of fact, for my podcast, that's one of the things I'm doing this summer. I'm doing a series on diversity, so I'm inviting people um, from different countries to share about themselves, because I that's one of the missions for my podcast in my business, where I
Yeah.
want to educate people. Because when we continue to believe those stereotypes, then people sometimes use those stereotypes as a justification to oppress or to discriminate or bully others.
Yeah.
And that is just absurd. And
Yeah.
um,
We just end up perpetuating these stories, you know, and this just, I think what I really want people to understand is the human rights. This is such a huge human rights issue. This is not just whether or not you like your immigrant neighbor, right? Like
Mhm.
we are hearing about the atrocious experiences that people are having at what the media has dubbed alligator Alcatraz in Florida, that people are living in these subhuman conditions while they're being held for deportation. And now we're hearing all these stories of people, like I was listening to a news story today of a kid who was on his way to a test or something like that, and he got snapped up. And what like what do you wish people understood about these, like, it's a financial benefit for us to have immigrants here, that is clear. Immigrant,
Right.
there's innovation in new ideas and different cultures and people thinking outside the box. Like, we always talk about innovation in business, but oh, not your business, right? Like, I'm sure as a business owner you've heard this often. But
Mhm.
what do you like, and then that crosses over into this human rights issue where we are violating people's human rights. What do you
Right.
wish people understood about why those things are actually interrelated?
Um, well, first of all, snatching people the way that they have been is just horrific. It's scary. It scares me. As a Latina, I have been worried about every time I walk out. I live in a very Republican county,
Mhm.
and while it's been pretty safe for the most part for me, uh, these times are pretty scary, and I'm more cautious. Um,
I've
in
actually been thinking
violation,
about you and wondering whether you have a veteran plate on your car.
I do. I
Good.
actually put it on there for that reason.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, actually, I have darker tint on my car, and I switched my plates because I used to have my ex-husband's disabled veteran plates because he registered the cars. So, but I took his name off of it, and it said DV and the number. And the next day, I got pulled over
Yep.
for my tint. And I was like, what the heck? I've been driving that car for years, since 2015 when I bought it right off the lot. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. So of course I removed the tint, whatever. But then I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and buy the frame that says, US veteran
Army
army,
veteran. Yep.
just in case, because I know that law enforcement usually is a little more lenient with
Yep.
people like that. So anyway, but it's crazy that I even have to do that. And it makes me in a way kind of feel bad, because that is an advantage and a privilege that I have. It's not going to save me from everything 100% of the times, because what they're doing now is they're running the plate before they pull you over. And if you have a Latino name, then you might get pulled over
Yeah.
just because you're a target. But these people are just doing everyday things. They're hardworking people, they're honest people, and they're being snatched up. And the reason that you should care, even if you are not in the Latino community, or even if you are in the Latino community, but for some reason you think that you're white enough to pass, or that you're rich enough, or whatever, is that if the human rights of another human are being violated, then you're next. If you're gonna be next eventually.
Yeah.
There is this um for some reason this crazy idea that people think, "Well, not me," and I'm like, where did that come from? um where you're not that special. You really aren't.
Well, and I think this goes to the us versus them, this very isolating us versus them mentality that we have that has really become more and more apparent the more and more we're online, and we're connecting through social media, like the more and more we are exposed, the more and more people have forgotten about our shared humanness.
Hmm.
And and I I think that it is so important for people to recognize that any human rights violation anywhere, but particularly as we are seeing it in our own neighborhoods, is a problem for everybody.
It really is, especially, I mean, look at how far they have gone. First, they crossed the line with immigrants, right? The immigrants that are supposedly criminals.
Mhm,
Um, then they just go for any immigrant. Then
mhm,
they go for the immigrant who has a green card. Then it was the citizen.
mhm.
Now it's Black people,
Yep.
like Black people who are immigrants. Now they're stripping away certain citizenships, like naturalized, supposedly for those who have committed crimes or who acquired it illegally. I'm pretty sure that, and I support that, because nobody should be getting their citizenship illegally. However, they are going to use any excuse
Yep.
to label something, like to deem them, or to justify them stripping people's citizenships away.
Well, and one of the things that I used to work very early on in my advocacy career, I did a lot of LGBTQ plus advocacy, and it was when we were like this is early 2000s, right? Late 90s, early 2000s, when we were just barely talking about amnesty for lesbian and gay people in countries where they potentially could be murdered, for being lesbian or gay. Like, I did a lot of advocacy work. I had a lot of friends who were doing that advocacy work. Like, we just barely started talking about that 25 years ago. And
Mhm.
and the idea for anybody, and like people seeking amnesty as a refugee human being who will be killed the minute they go back, why would we not want to protect people from being murdered
Yeah,
in their own country?
exactly. Like, I want people to think about this. People are asking to come here legally
Mhm,
because they're fleeing something horrific,
mhm.
and you ridicule them, you shame them, you call them criminals for doing that. But I'm pretty sure that you have had to ask somebody for help at some point in your lifetime. And yes, it may not have been, please take me into your country,
Mhm.
but there's really no difference, because it's not like they're saying, uh support me, be my sugar daddy, like, it just, they're saying, let me come here and contribute for the
Mhm.
exchange of safety. So it's not like they're asking for a handout, they're not asking for anything free. They're simply asking for the opportunity to get out of a terrible situation. And I want to read something that I read years ago, and hopefully it resonates. It's from a philosopher back in World War II era. And this
Mm,
is just a snippet of a longer poem, but he said, "First, they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unions, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak up because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me." And
mhm,
I think of that all the time.
mhm.
And that's the reason why I will send emails, I will call, I will send letters, I will speak on my platform to eradicate any, mistruth, any fake news, because it's out there. And I don't want to look back if I survive this chaos and it gets worse, and say I did nothing. I don't want to be that person that said I did nothing. As a matter of fact, right now I feel like I haven't done enough. And I wish that everybody would care about the politics, because politics is what shapes the quality of your life. Think about it right now. That ugly bill got passed in the Senate, is going back to the House, and it includes so many things. People just think, oh, they're going to take Medicare away. I don't care about that. It's okay because I'm not on Medicare. But
Yeah.
look at all the other things that includes. There's so much. There's funding for law enforcement to go and kidnap more people. They're building these um, concentration camps, pretty much. They are giving. This is the biggest transfer of wealth from those that make less to the rich who already have a lot of money. And I mean, I even see some rich people posting on there. Like today, John Legend, he posted, "I don't need that money." Like, I don't need that money. I mean, yeah, it's always nice for people, even the rich, to have more money. But really, like, wow, how greedy can you be? Where hopefully these people, what they'll do is take that extra money and give it back to the community in some way by funding schools or something. But
There's
most
something
people probably
really
won't.
right, and there's something really that that bill, the vice president had to be the tie-breaking vote. That means that at least 1 or 2 Republicans voted against it.
Hmm.
Um, we we are at such a critical point where what worries me is that people are more frustrated about politics and not caring. And this is the time, actually, back to that poem you just read, this is the time to be more invested in what's happening politically, especially at the federal level, but at all levels of government. We have to be paying attention to who we are electing in office and how we're holding them accountable.
Right.
Because
Right.
elected officials need to remember they work for us.
Exactly.
We
Look, they
pay
are
their salary.
right. They are defunding so many resources that you might think you're going to be fine without until you need it. Like um there's like contraception, you already know, you heard about the
Federal
incubation
government.
of that woman in Georgia who was
Yep.
forced to have that baby although she was brain dead. That's horrific. Like, what person wants that? And I can't imagine the trauma the family experienced just waiting until this little baby was delivered, and it was like 1 pound or something.
Yeah,
um
it's horrifying. And food stamps,
right,
uh,
there are so many people who look.
school
my
lunch.
my mom did have to take food stamp when my father left. She experienced
Sure.
domestic violence a lot. He left, he abandoned us, didn't take care of any of the financials for us, and she turned to housing authority because she was a single mom with 6 kids.
Yeah.
We were there for 4 years. Well, I left on the 30th because I graduated and left to the military. But I remember being ashamed because you shouldn't need help, right? You should be independent and not need the help. But I am grateful for that, because that was an investment that the country put into us, and every single one of us have done something with our lives. I was in the military. I'm a business owner. I also have a full-time job that pays very well. I gave 10 years of my life to the military, which was not easy. My other sibling, she's got a great job at a university making great money. My other sibling is a school psychologist at the LA school district. My other sibling is a nurse practitioner. And then my other sibling is a nurse, registered nurse. And then my brother owns his business. So,
Mhm.
like, all six of us did something. And that is, I remember people saying, oh, it's six of you. You're not all going to make it. You're going to be
Right.
a statistic.
Like,
But,
why are we still in the year 2025
right.
perpetuating the mythology of immigrants as incompetent? I
Exactly.
mean, I know why. It's racism, it's classism,
Mhm.
it's like, all the isms.
Right, right.
What this just makes me so mad.
It does, and I also want people to know this, that recently there was something, I can't remember if it was an interview or something. One of these people who was put in place to uh, pretty much analyze what Doge has found about inefficiency and waste of money, and they were shockingly surprised that we, the money was pretty efficient. It was ran pretty well. Everything was going to where it was supposed to. Yes, there are always going to be fraud and abuse at a small level, but I think that these people who have a certain agenda focus on the negatives for fear mongering, and they
Yeah,
make it seem so huge because the negative is always going to shine brighter than the positive, because the positive is norm,
right.
and people need to pay attention to that. Um, the uh, the fact that I think I read that like 84% of the United of people in the United States are not really aware of this ugly bill and what it has in it. Just like the majority of people had never heard of Project 2025, which is crazy. Because to
Well,
me,
that's
it's like
because
it's
we're all so
everywhere.
busy. Like, that's the point. The point is we're all working our butts off to survive in this economy so we can feed our families and pay our bills. And
Mhm.
that's why I think what you say, you and I have talked about why it's so important for people, but particularly immigrants, to be more engaged in politics and understand what's happening. Are there some favorite resources of yours that you go to?
Um, let's see. Oh my gosh. Now I used to rely on the .govs, but since this administration took over,
Mhm.
it's so hard because they're very biased.
Yeah.
Um, but I now actually follow certain people who fact check,
Mhm.
and I wish I was prepared for this question because I would have written them down. But
Well, sorry, let me just throw it out. Yeah, after out of left field. If you think of some, we can always throw them into the show notes. But like
yeah.
one of the ones that I really love is Spear from Under the Desk News. I
Mhm.
think her reporting is really well researched and funded. I do
Mhm.
like listening to the NPR 5 minute news spot. I just didn't know if there
Oh
was
yeah.
where you go
NPR, yeah.
to like.
NPR Politics, I love that one too. They're as unbiased as they can be, and I've really appreciated that. Latino USA too.
Mhm,
Maria Hinojosa is an amazing award-winning journalist. She's been doing the work for so long, and she always covers everything, not just immigration stuff, but everything in the country, and sometimes even international things that impact Latinos in the US. Those are two of my favorite ones. So
mhm. Those
I
are
know
good ones.
there's a lot more, but
Yeah.
I can't think of them right now.
No, it's okay. Those are good for people who are just, thinking about it and wondering what to do and how to.
Right. And
I mean,
and
I don't
I
wanna overwhelm people either. Like, if you can find a
true.
couple of good spaces where you're getting good reporting. uh,
Right. And I want people to also pay attention to who they're listening to, not just on the news, but here on social media or like these radio shows, because some of them are very, very biased. And if you can stomach the opposite, narrative, please listen to it, because it will help you understand why they're pushing for what they're pushing and how ingrained their beliefs are. Um, and that's the only way that you're going to be able to see how different the stories are. For example, I was speaking to my chiropractor. I don't know which way he leans. I think I know based on what he shares, right? And he says, "Oh yeah, the president of Mexico is a communist." And I was like, "Really? Okay." Now I follow her. I follow some news about what Mexico is doing and how they have reacted to all of this. And when they started the mass deportations and they sent over the airplanes to Mexico to deport people, the narrative with the Republican side was so different. They said, "Oh, look at that! The president of Mexico, she she had to send her presidential airplane to pick up the
Yeah,
deportees."
I remember
But the
that.
story was what she shared, the Mexican government shared, that they stopped the US airplanes from landing in Mexico
Right.
because they were treating the deportees like terrorists, shackled and chained. So she forbid them to enter and sent them back. And she said, send them back with dignity. Of course, Trump didn't. So she said, the hell with that. I'm sending my presidential airplane to pick them up because they deserve the dignity of being in a presidential airplane, not some cargo plane or
Right.
being
Not
treated
being
like.
shackled, treated like
Exactly.
chattel. Yeah.
So she's showing dignity and class, and that's the narrative. So two totally different narratives. The other one is, oh, look at her. Yeah, Trump knew it. He made her do this. And then she's like, no, we're gonna honor our people. Our people are welcome back over here. And then the way that she speaks of all of the people in all the Mexican people who have left Mexico to come here, she says, I welcome our Mexican people back. I understand that they had to go because they thought that they were going to do better over there and they were in bad circumstances here. There's nothing wrong with pursuing that, even if it means leaving their home country, but they're always welcome back. And what did she do? She set up a program to receive them with dignity. She is providing them with funds. They immediately get checked for their health just to make sure that they're okay. And there are like other things that she is including, and this is all government funded, because she understands that these are people and their human rights have been violated.
Yeah.
And you know what every other country could do if they wanted to treat American citizens the way that Trump has treated Latinos. Every country could say, the heck with this, get all these US citizens out of here, like send them back shackled.
Yeah.
But they don't, because they know that's wrong. And because at the end of the day, the American people, the US American people, are just people trying to live their lives. The majority of us are good people. The majority of us just want peace. These politicians who have self-interest and are corrupt are the ones that are ruining the country, that are making conditions really unbearable for a lot of people, not just immigrants, for US Americans, whether you're white, black, whatever shade you are. And you have to remember that there are these diplomats that are making decisions for us, and their decisions impact us. Think about this, the Ukraine thing and the Iran thing. Because this administration has not been able to be diplomatic and or get out of certain people's business or certain countries' business or whatever, the ones who are going to war, if they go to war, are not them and their kids. It's other people's kids. And I think about that because I was in the military for 10 years. And when 9/11 happened, I was in the military and it was chaotic and I knew what was at stake. But then, we were attacked. It's different when you are making decisions of sending service members for something that could have been avoided. And it's just unfair because it makes me very angry. I understand that we have national defense. We have to defend our country, but there are some things that should not happen. just like all of this chaos here in the United States, all of these people losing homes, paying an excessive amount for insurance of all sorts. I mean, look, my insurance went up so much.
Mhm.
And then I'm 46. Isn't it supposed to go down as you get older? And then this big ugly bill includes legislation that is going to increase our insurances, increase our energy bills, increase everything. So, and
I
people
think,
don't.
do you think that um do you think that the more, if people were more informed politically about how to talk to their elected officials and how to pay attention, that this polarizing, because I see extremism on both sides. Like
Yes.
Republicans are not the only people who are becoming more and more extreme. Do you feel like that if more people understood why and how to be involved in these conversations, that extremism would be mitigated?
I don't think that the problem is how to be involved. I think that the problem is why should I be involved? Because they feel
Uh,
like they're not heard.
yeah.
There are so many people that know how to pick up the phone and say, hey, this and that, whatever, or can write a letter, but they don't
Why
because they
it's
feel
important.
like the no matter how much we say what we say, nothing's going to change. And they'll use examples like look at Al Gore when he won the popular vote. They didn't listen then. Look at
Right.
when Hillary won the popular vote. They didn't listen then, or listen what they listen. They're going to side with the rich because they're the ones that have the power. They have the money, and yes, they do work for us, but they're not listening on either side. Just like on the Democrat side, people are ticked off because they're not doing enough. On the Republican side, they're ticked off because, you know, they're like, oh, they can't tell us how to live our lives, and it's just crazy.
So
They're,
you and I
uh,
have talked a lot about many different things involving immigration over the last couple of hours. Now it's hours, between all three of the episodes. What are the parting words that you want to leave people with? What's the wisdom you want to give to people?
oh my gosh. hmm. I would say think about several years from now when we're out of this, you know, when you look back, what will you wish you would have done?
Mm.
And whatever that is, do it. Do it now.
Oh, that's good.
Nothing is, yeah,
That's good.
I think it doesn't hurt to try. It
No,
really
it's
doesn't.
fine. Thank you so much for talking with me about these important issues. And I hope people go to your website and learn more about the work that you're doing about bullying. I think it's so important. And I'm so grateful for your friendship and your time. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Have a great day.